UFC Fight Night Taira versus Park is happening at the Big Apex this weekend in Las Vegas, and oh boy, do we have some bangers for you. Now, I'm going to take you through all my predictions and picks for the fight, some good money underdogs, some fighters that probably have no business being in the UFC. However, we're going to start off with an absolute barn burner here. We've got Piera Rodriguez versus Ketlin Souza. Now, when I tell you guys this is an absolute banger to start the card, you better know it is. As much as I would love to pick an underdog here, I just can't go with Ketlin Souza. I think Piera Rodriguez is just going to drown her out to a 29-28 UD. Piera Rodriguez is 4-2 in the UFC with all 4 wins by UD. There's no bigger thrill than having a woman just drown somebody out by unanimous decision. I don't know what else to say there. Ketlin Souza does look like a bad motherfucker. She is tatted up, and she looks like she could put a beating on you. But at the end of the day, she is a 5'3", 115-pound woman. So I don't really know how bad she can be. Moving up the card. Speaking of fighters that have absolutely no business being in the UFC, we have Nick Klein versus Andre Pulyaev. Now, watching film on these guys, it's pretty pathetic to say the least. I tried to watch some Russian regional scene. I guess that's the company that Andre Pulyaev was fighting out of. And, it didn't look the best. He looked really slow. He looked sloppy. He had to, as a 6'4" individual that should be keeping people at range, just peppering the jab, throwing teeps, the good old Sean Strickland style. He's resorting to having to shoot for takedowns, and that's just not a good look. In saying that, Nick Klein is just as bad. He comes out in the goofy BJJ kind of stand-up, elbows flared wide, just doesn't look like he belongs whatsoever. When I originally wanted to pick a winner for this fight, I just thought Pulyaev was going to keep Nick Klein at distance and kind of just bore his way to a UD. Now, I look back at it, and Nick Klein shot a lot of takedowns against Mansour Abdulmalik. Now, he ended up getting knocked unconscious, but he didn't quit. And I think Nick Klein is going to put enough pressure on Andre Pulyaev to make him quit. I don't think Andre Pulyaev has that dog in him, and I'm not picking against a guy whose fighter nickname is Blue Collar. So, in saying that, Nick Klein is going to win this fight by a 3rd round submission. He's just going to tire Andre Pulyaev out and end up pulling it off. Now, on to the next fight. We've got Rodolfo Vieira versus Tresean Gore. And I'm going with Rodolfo Vieira here to beat Tresean Gore by submission in round 2. All of Vieira's wins have come by submission. I just don't think Tresean Gore is that good. I think Rodolfo Vieira is going to mix it up pretty well and then shoot whenever he feels Gore gets comfortable. Gore just hasn't been taken down a ton, but that's mainly because people would just rather beat him up on the feet. Rodolfo Vieira by submission here. Moving on, we've got Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. I've got Rinya Nakamura winning by decision. He's 5-1 in the UFC, coming off of a decision loss to a very good fighter in Gufarov. He didn't look his best. I think Gufarov was just simply better. No way else to put it. I think Fletcher, he'll just have too much experience over him. It's as simple as that. Now, Fletcher looked decent against Logran, and he could have potentially got the win there, but I think Nakamura's 6 fights to Fletcher's 2 fights is just going to be too much experience. I got Nakamura pushing the pace. I know he fought off the back foot a little bit against Gafarov, but I think credit is to be given to Gafarov there for pushing the pace. I think it's going to be a different story this time around. Nakamura is a huge favorite, and I think he'll live up to that. Nakamura by unanimous decision. All right, the next fight we have is Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos, and simply put, I've got Kevin Vallejos winning this fight by round 1 knockout. Vallejos is a short, stocky guy. He's extremely, extremely fast twitch. He's got nukes for hands. He's younger. He's just way more talented. He'll clearly have the speed advantage here. Silva's only hope is to try to neutralize it by resorting to takedowns or just trying to circle. I just can't see a road for victory here. For Danny Silva, there's just too big of an athleticism gap. All the film I've seen on Silva is just way too slow. Again, with that being said, I have Kevin Vallejos winning this one by round 1 knockout. Next up, we've got Neil Magny versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Now, I will come to bat for Neil Magny a little bit. The UFC have let this man just absolutely go to the wolves. They've done him no favors whatsoever in the past few years. They've just given him killer's row. His last 5 losses against Carlos Prates, Ian Gary, Michael Morales, Gilbert Burns, and Shavkat Rakhmonov. I mean, that's got to be the best 5 losses in the history of the welterweight division. I don't know. However, I just can't see Neil Magny winning in the Big 25. I think a few years ago, before he went to death row, he probably could beat Zaleski dos Santos. Now Neil Magny just doesn't have it in him. He'll just wilt. There's nothing to it. There's nothing that Zaleski dos Santos is going to do that's that much better than Neil Magny. It's the fact that Neil Magny doesn't have the dog in the fight anymore. Neil Magny is just not that guy. He's just going to collect a paycheck, and that's simply it. Zaleski dos Santos, he's also collecting a paycheck, but he probably has too much CTE. He doesn't know any better. He probably loves to fight. You know, I don't know how Zaleski dos Santos is going to win this fight. I would imagine it's going to be by decision, just mixing it up, and Neil Magny wilting to death. Maybe Neil Magny will squeak out the first round, but I just cannot see him winning a fight in the Big 25. Next fight we have on the card is Carol Rosa versus Nora Cornolle. Now, on the main card of a fight night in 2025, I mean, we just can't be satisfied with the product here from the UFC. I'm sorry, but it's not acceptable. I understand there were a few fights that fell off of the card, and they are ranked females, but I put this fight on the prelims. Find some other guys to fight. You can get ranked opponents to fight on these fight nights. Tons of people train locally in the Las Vegas area. You can find 2 guys who are ranked to fight on this fight night. Now, in saying that, I don't think Cornolle is better than Rosa by any stretch of imagination. Rosa can mix it up well. She's coming off a loss to Eileen Perez, but comparing Eileen Perez to Nora Cornolle is like comparing night and day. Carol Rosa's never been finished or finished anybody in the UFC. That's what we love to see, Dana. With that being said, Carol Rosa by decision. Now, on to the featured fight on the main card. It's Elvis Brener versus Esteban Ribovics, and you know, I just think that Noche Zellhuber-Ribovics fight overhyped both of those guys. We saw Michael Johnson, the true unk. He beat Zellhuber the other week, and I think Elvis Brener does that against Esteban Ribovics here. You know, Elvis Brenner's 2 losses are against Joel Alvarez and Maitabek Oralblai. Those guys are legit right around the corner ranked lightweights. Ribovics he's fought guys like McKinney and Nasrat. I'm not saying Nasrat's a bad fighter because he isn't. Now, I do think he won the Nasrat fight, but Brener knows what he has to do in order to beat Ribovics. And I think if he pushes the pace, can take him down. I don't think Ribovics has the best gas tank in the world. Now, using the Zellhuber fight isn't the best example of that because they were absolutely throwing. But if Brener can shoot upwards of double-digit takedowns, I think he gets Ribovics out in the 3rd round. Now on to the co-main, we have Mateusz Rebecki versus Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan's last 2 fights, he beat Vucevic and Oki, both by guillotine. In both of those fights, he wasn't necessarily winning. He wasn't losing per se either, but either way, I don't think Rebecki is the same fighter as those guys. Rebecki's fighting Oralby. Jeez, I can never pronounce his name. And Diego Ferreira. He's not fighting the guys that Chris Duncan is fighting, and I think that makes a difference here. Rebecki's a short, stocky, muscular tank. I just see him steamrolling right through Chris Duncan. I don't see him getting caught in a guillotine. I think he's way better on the feet. I think he's way better on the ground. And Chris Duncan, just like in his last 2 fights, he had that thing that stood out, which was his guillotine. I think Rebecki's way too smart to get caught into that trap. That being said, I have Mateusz Rebecki by second round TKO, ground and pound. I believe he will get him to the ground and he'll just overwhelm him. Chris Duncan will try to pull guard, something along those lines, jump the guillotine, he'll slip out, and it'll be over from there. Lastly, we have the main event of the evening, Taira versus HyunSung Park. Originally, it was Almir Albazi. However, Albazi pulled out with an injury, so Park is stepping in his place. Park was scheduled to fight Steve Erceg next week and will now take on the 5-round challenge with Tatsuro Taira. Now, with the change in opponent, I do think Taira is going to beat HyunSung Park, and I think he's going to beat him by decision. Now, Taira doesn't have the best stand-up in the world, neither does Park, and Royval showed that in his last fight. He kind of pieced him up for 3 rounds a bit. Taira did take 2 rounds off of him. He is a fantastic wrestler, and even Royval admittedly said that he's improved drastically on his BJJ. I believe they were training partners, and Royval said that whenever they would roll, he would get him out in 1 to 2 minutes max, and that he's made leaps and bounds in that department. Getting to Park, he's a fun, interesting fighter. He's got 5 UFC fights. He's finished all 5 of his opponents. And I do believe if Park had a full camp to prep for Taira, instead of a 3-round camp, he had the 5-round camp, and instead of training for Steve Erceg, he was training for Taira, that he would make it a lot more competitive. I'm not saying it won't be competitive. However, I am saying that Taira is going to pull this one out via decision, in my opinion. I could see a late round finish as well. HyunSung Park just hasn't been in the deep waters in the UFC. I mean, let me look at his stats real quick. Yeah, first round sub, second round TKO. He went to the 3rd round with Choi sub. First round. I mean, he just doesn't have that 25-minute fight experience. I know he's a flyweight. I know he will be able to adapt, and he's going to take it to him. He's not going to roll over. He's not going to curl up into a ball. I think Taira has the edge over him. I think Taira has the edge over him striking as well. When Park fought on the Contender Series against that, who was it? It was... I can't remember his name. The Thai fighter. He was getting pieced up. I'm not saying his stand-up hasn't improved, but I think Taira can take this fight wherever he wants, and with that being said, he just takes the main event. So those are my predictions for this weekend's UFC Fight Night. If you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below. If you have any suggestions, anything like that at all, feel free to let me know. Other than that, I will catch you on the flip side.